Our Enabling Act, in our Enabling Act, it provides that under disposal, the federal government's duty is to dispose of the land. That means extinguish title, get rid of it.
Right.
Part of disposing is also selling. And in our Enabling Act and your Enabling Act, it says if you sell as part of disposal, you give 5% of the proceeds to our permanent fund for education. And 95% stays with the federal government to pay the public debt. Well, we honor that promise. Now, I'll tell you personally, I don't like it. I think we should give them some hand gestures and keep all the money. But that's our promise. And so while we're compelling the promise, we're going to honor the promise. And so if we sell land, which could be viewed as a disincentive to sell land, but if we sell land, 5% goes to our permanent fund for education, 95% goes to pay the debt.
So it's a check and balance.
Yeah, you can certainly view it that way.
So if the state of Nevada took back our public lands, and we have those, and let's just, for example, say a mining company comes in and wants to buy a piece of property for mining purposes, obviously, and let's just say, just to throw this number out there, say the state sells it to them for $1 million, and they agree to that. So out of that $1 million, the state would get 5% of that sale price, and then 95% would go to the feds.
Right. That's the proposal that we have in our bill. Now, you would also have the opportunity of, rather than selling the land, you simply lease the land and lease the, and so that would be a decision that would be wholly within your state on how you wanted to manage that land going forward. But if you went through the public process and determined to sell it, and then the terms, under our bill, what we're proposing is to honor those terms of our Enabling Act, and the education fund would keep $50,000 in your scenario, and the federal government would get $950,000. Now, one thing that's also important to point out, this still, even under that scenario where we don't intend to sell a lot of land in our case, that still benefits the nation. In a situation where we've got this tremendous deficit and debt and unemployment, you free up a resource for jobs. I mean, look at I was just in Elko, and they said it's hard to find places to house people because you've got some things happening up there. Imagine that you've got that throughout your state and our state and New Mexico and Arizona and Idaho. What that does to employment nationally, what that does to GDP nationally, what that does to reducing deficits nationally. When we were in Speaker Boehner's office with his staff and talking about these tremendous math problems, they're not politics problems anymore, they're math problems. And he said, you're right, we can't solve that unless we grow the pie. There's just no way.
So how many taxes from a mining, and DMAR, maybe you can kind of chime in on this a little bit, because I've heard several different answers, and I don't know what to believe. How much of a mining operation, how much of those taxes go to the federal government, tax revenues they generate, aside from the net proceeds that stay in the state? I'm led to believe that all revenues generated from a mining operation in the state of Nevada stay within the state, but I don't believe that. Don't the feds get their share?
I think they do, but I think the important thing here is access to the minerals, and which we don't have now. For instance, the example that we heard about North Dakota being able to drill for oil, and all of the oil that we have, in Elko County, we had 160,000 acres just taken off the table because of the BLM interim management policies for sage grouse that were going to be leased for exploration and now aren't. Now, if that were state land and we could, you know how to go talk to the governor, go talk to your legislators. You know how to get things done in the state, where go to Washington and try to reason with the agencies there, and it's just really uphill. But the difference as far as the economic benefit to the state is being able to have access to those minerals.
Okay.